This episode is sponsored by Ground News. What up world, it's your homeboy WordPlay TJ, and I'm back with another video for you. This time around, I'm going to show you how to submit your music to the Grammys as an independent musician. Stay tuned. So recently, I submitted my 9th studio album, Terry, to the Grammys, and I want to be considered for one of those nominations. Now, winning a Grammy has been a long-term thing that's been a part of my plan, even though I'm not a fan of labels and I'm not a fan of the bigger music industry, so to speak. Winning a Grammy is something that is important to me. So it's important not because of the institution, it's important because of the feeling that I have associated with the Grammys. The Grammys has always been something that has been valuable to me. But this submission was not easy to do, and so through learning this lesson, I want to share a lesson with you on how you can submit your work. Back around 2013, 2014, I was a part of the Grammy Academy. I was a member. I had enough albums and I had enough credits that I could secure a membership. And all of a sudden, I lost it. And I don't know why I lost my membership to the Grammys. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the process, and I'm going to describe how you can submit to the Grammys. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about what are your chances of winning, because I know most people are like, why would I put all this time, all this energy into trying to get a Grammy if I'm not going to be successful? In fact, this year in February, it was noted that 50% of the winners of Grammys this year have been independent artists. Or at least the music has come from independent record labels. So don't get me wrong, these labels are not poor working musicians. That's not the case. These labels have some money behind them. They have some success behind them. Folks like Empire and 30 Tigers. All of these labels have some momentum. And so it's still going to take some investment from those labels in order to get to that level or to get to having a chance at winning. And like I said before, this is not a requirement for success, but what I'm saying in this video is just giving you an opportunity to submit and be a part of the process. And in fact, if you do win as an independent artist, there are some benefits. There's some credibility that you earn. You earn more fans, and then you earn the power to negotiate better deals. Those things come with Grammy wins. There's even a bit of a boost from a Grammy nomination. You just have to be willing to give it a shot. So speaking of giving it a shot, who can submit to the Grammys in the first place? There are two different types of folks that can submit to the Grammys, and I'm gonna oversimplify this a lot. There are voting members and there are media companies. Like I said earlier, I was trying to apply to become a voting member. And the voting members pay about $150 per year. There's a lot of perks and benefits that are on the Grammy website, so you can go check that out there. But in order to become a voting member, you have to have peer recommendation. You have to be active in the business. You have to have about 12 credits that you can point to that are distributed within the US. And basically, you just have to be a working musician that is actively putting out work in the world. But there's this other side, and this is how I got a chance to submit this year. I joined the Academy not as a voting member, but as a media company that's allowed to submit work to be voted on. For about $180 per year, I can be a media company that submits year to year if we make projects that qualify for that year. So once you have either your voting membership or you have your media company submission registration, you can then use their online entry process in order to submit your album. So voting and professional members get 5 courtesy entries, and then every entry after that is $75 each. While media companies, because they're not voting members, they have to pay an entry fee, a standard entry fee, about $95 per submission. Now on to the timeline. I haven't memorized this, so I'm going to be looking down at my notes just a little bit. But in order for music to be eligible for a Grammy, you have to had released that music within a certain window. So for example, the window for submissions this year is from September 16th, 2023 until August 30th, 2024. Anything that is released within that window is eligible to be submitted for Grammy consideration. Like I said earlier in this explanation, I applied to be in the new member class, and that's also a part of this timeline. So on the timeline is the new member class, and there is a window of application for new members. The deadline for that application, which requires 2 peer reviews and you to fill out a member profile, is March of every single year. Once you submit, they then announce the new class in July of the same year. Also in July, you have to accept your membership, and that means that you just have to say, hey, I agree to being a voting member, and so there's a deadline in order for you to pay that registration fee. And then the submission period, so that online entry process, starts in mid-July and ends on August 30th. The voting period generally starts around October, and then nominations are announced in November, and then between December and January, there are more final votes cast. And speaking of casting votes, our sponsor today is Ground News. So if you're tired of bias leaking into your news, especially in a time like this where we are voting in an upcoming election, Ground News is the best source for you to find your news. Ground News is an application that aggregates a bunch of different news sources, shares with you the type of bias that source may have, and also includes the factuality of that source. I use Ground News every day in order to understand music, entertainment, and policy law that's happening around the music business. I also use Ground News to read about different things that are happening as the election is approaching. So Ground News has offered my community an opportunity to get 15% off of any subscription on their platform by checking out the link in my description. So you can go to check.ground.news/WPTJ in order to get 15% off your Ground News subscription and download the app today. So once you go through the process of becoming a member or a media company, and then you submit your work for consideration in the Grammys, then you have to be nominated. Now, if you go through that initial submission process, your submission is accepted, and you're not nominated, then the work stops. But if you get further than that, then the voting and solicitation guidelines are important for you. So first, let me talk about voter integrity. Now, this is a sensitive topic. I can't prove any of the things that I think about when it comes to voting integrity in the Grammys. But what I have experienced as a voting member in the past is people will solicit and ask for votes. They will trade votes. They will do block voting. And those are a lot of things that I never participated in as a voting member. And I can also say that there are Grammy voting parties, there are publications in LA, or at least there used to be publications that would say, hey, like, you're a voting member, I need you to consider my work. And a lot of people didn't have access or didn't have enough funds to pay for access for all of that advertisement. And so because of all of that bias that leaks within the system, I want to be clear. I don't know if there's any foul play at the Grammys, but I wouldn't be surprised if people think there is. So here's what it takes in order to be a voting member and vote with integrity. Members can only vote in the fields that they work in. So I'm a hip hop artist, so I should be voting for the rap category. The choices that voters make should be made off of artistic and technical merit, and they shouldn't be full of like speculation. Voters should not let their choices be suggested or directed or influenced by other people in the industry. Voters can't accept money. They shouldn't be doing voter blocks like I was talking about earlier, and they shouldn't be trading votes like I said before either. All of these standards are listed in the voting and solicitation guidelines that are on the Recording Academy's website. With that being said, I still believe that voting is highly subjective and not necessarily objective. People may be swayed by the amount of sales that somebody gets, the popularity that somebody has, and not necessarily off the artistic and technical merit of the work. The fact that artists have more visibility in spotlight and notoriety in the public arena gives them an advantage when it comes to people voting for their work. The last thing on voting and solicitation is the solicitation piece of that voting procedure. Now, I said before, as a member, I would get emails about for your consideration. And for your consideration is basically people that have made submissions. They are advertising either through social media, they're using paid ads, print ads, magazines, emails, all of those modalities in order to share that their work is available to be voted on. And so the Recording Academy has created voting and solicitation guidelines that can help people actually promote their work without violating the voter integrity. Now, like I said before, this is a very slippery slope because a part of the for your consideration could be that you throw a Grammy party in LA, and that may be too expensive for most people to come to. And so if you have a little bit more money, you have a lot more access for consideration. And so that's one of the things that bothers me about this entire process is that generally the more funds that you have, the more likely that it increases your odds of winning a Grammy. With all that said, I don't want to discourage you. What I want to do is give you the information that might serve you. So even if your career is small right now and it grows later on, you're still able to take advantage of this video and be successful in your music career. So that's it. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I appreciate you watching this video. Be sure to share it with somebody that might get something out of it. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe to this channel because about 80 to 90% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, and they should. Until next time, it's your homeboy WordPlay TJ. Peace. And when I wake up, take me home now. Every day I'm staring at the phone now. Yeah. Okay. 3 months gone, hanging on messages. And only adults know what the